Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode. What is it? 1479. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. What's happening? Good morning. I'm late this morning. I'm turning into a night owl. What is going on? I am turning into a night owl. I used to be in bed by 9:30. Was up dark and early, usually around 5. However, now this past weekend was, I think Friday night. Friday was the rehearsal dinner. It shut down pretty early, so I think it was a little later than normal. But I think I was asleep by 10, 11 o'clock. But Saturday we were at the wedding until midnight, so it was like 1 a.m. by the time I fell asleep. And then Sunday night. Did I go to bed early? I think I was up because we didn't get home until after 9 on Sunday night. So I was up a little later than usual. Last night, I'm on eBay Live. I was selling on eBay Live until almost 11 o'clock last night, which is way past my bedtime. I kind of schedule these things out. I want to hit the prime time, and I like 7 o'clock Central. And I'll go till like 9:30. That was before I realized people like to spend money after 9 o'clock, which I should know. You ever wake up in the morning or middle of the night, check your eBay, and it's like, oh my God, I went to bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock last night, and all of these sales happened after that. People are buying late at night. So I was having such a good night on eBay Live. I'm like, I had 241 shell listings set to go. And I'm like, I'll get to 200, based on the timing, I can probably get 200 in and by like 9:30. That way I'll get my invoices. I'll be, ready for bed by 10. Well, we were having it seemed like it was snowballing. I had more and more participation, and we were running some fun items, and it's like, well, shit, let's keep going. Let's do all 241. So we did. I really liked sprinkling in the progressives as opposed to just having all progressive auctions. I think it introduces a potential new customer base. That if they see only auctions of lots, they're like, I don't want a bunch of cards I don't want. But if you're in the heat of things and you're bidding on singles, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's this? Well, this lot actually sounds interesting, and then you get some bids in, and so we had some good success. I feel that both parties, buyer and seller, left happy last night, especially with the progressive lots. People in the chat were like, wow, you got a lot of value for what you paid for that. And I'm like, I got a lot of value for what I paid for it as the seller. It's like the buyers are happy, the bidders are happy, I'm happy. Let's go. So we cranked it up last night, did all 241 auctions, and away we go. Ziggy, you can find my show. I'm trying to think of the best way. There's like a static link, and I don't have any upcoming scheduled. Let me see if this link works, because there should be a show page. Yeah, that's not working. I don't know. In red light, I don't know. That's right now. That's the problem I'm working with. Is I'm trying to get the timing down. I've got a lot of auctions I've got a lot of shipping to do. We've got landscape. I've got to meet the landscaper this morning, and then get shipping. So I'd like to get to a point where I'm doing a stream at least like 5 days a week. But I'm not there yet. So yeah, this is a challenge, Ziggy. It is absolutely a challenge. There are a lot of updates coming to eBay Live. So here's the background, Ziggy. This is the background. So eBay Live, and the reason I think he asked where about the slow roll. It is extremely slow roll, and here's why. There's a reason. So eBay Live was a pet project of somebody that worked with eBay like 3 years ago, and they wanted to launch a live selling platform because that was the new thing back 3 years ago. So this employee kind of launched on the ground, and it was like a pet project for this. I don't know, and I don't know the specifics if he was like a full-time employee or if he was like a contractor or like how it worked, but somebody involved in working with eBay. It was their pet project and launched it. However, eBay didn't put any like money into it, no marketing. They didn't have employees for eBay Live. This employee then left, whether it was an employee or just working on contract base or intern, I don't know, but they left. So it was just left for the last 2 years as what it was, which was still in early on beta. They put no advertising into it, no marketing into it. They had no employees dedicated to eBay Live. Now they have an army of people involved with eBay Live. I have gone through in my process, my onboarding and the progress through it. I have gone through like probably 15 different people that are all associated with eBay Live. So that's kind of the backstory on why it was such a slow roll. They have put a ton of money and are continuing to put a ton of money into eBay Live. You will hear more about it. Obviously, you've probably seen it on the homepage. It's a little more in front of you. So you're going to be seeing a lot more eBay Live from eBay, and they are continuing to add new sellers. They're being pretty selective, and they're basically recruiting. I guess you would call it recruiting sellers. Is how they're going about it, and they don't want to compete with Whatnot in the. And here's the thing. eBay doesn't want to compete with Whatnot because that's not eBay's business model. It'd be like me saying, well, I sell cards, so I'm going to try to compete with Burbank because I sell low-end cards just like Burbank. Now, I understand eBay is a giant corporation and they have the means to actually do that. I don't really have the means to compete with I don't have the means to compete with Burbank. So they don't want to just allow anybody to sell. They don't want like Whatnot. Anybody can sign up and it takes like 60 seconds and you can sell on Whatnot. eBay doesn't want that. They want to go through and it's a pretty, like, I wouldn't say strenuous, but it's pretty in depth what they do, which I appreciate. And I think those of you that are participating in buying on eBay Live should also appreciate that because it means, you're not getting some schmuck that's going to send cards without any protection in a white envelope or try to send a slab in a white envelope or, in all that, some of the horror stories you read about, see on Whatnot. So with that, I appreciate how eBay is rolling out Live. Also, you have to take into consideration, it's still in beta. And a lot of updates are coming. I know it's clunky. It's clunky on my end too. It is not smooth. It's kind of like Card Dealer Pro. I read about all the complaints every day. I ignore them, but I still see them usually. You've got to adapt. And is it frustrating when Card Dealer Pro doesn't work? Is it frustrating when the AI doesn't match? Absolutely. But it's still leaps and bounds better than listing from your phone. And sometimes you have to adapt. And that's how eBay Live is right now on my end. Like, I know changes are coming. I know there's going to be updates. They're putting a ton of money into this. But I just adapt or die. Shout out to Shane. So we roll, we bear with it, bear with it, roll with it, whatever. So that's kind of where we're at. And I'm excited to see. I know there's some, it's May 27th. I think on June 9th is when eBay rolls out the, is it the combined shipping? I think it's the combined shipping. And hopefully, now I have like a personal rep that I talk with either every week or every other week. And so we have a conversation tomorrow, and I'd like to get a little more information on as far as invoicing, because I end up spending like 20 minutes invoicing after each eBay Live, because it doesn't, even though I have shipping policies set up, it doesn't take. And I've racked my brain on how to figure this out. So since we're on the topic, I'm going to, Ziggy's got some stuff, and then we'll rewind to the chat. I did not sell on Whatnot. I did sign up to sell on Whatnot at some point last year, like late last year when I started. So basically I was like poo-poo on auctions and live selling. I wasn't poop. Actually, I've long said live selling is the future of online selling. And it's almost, I'm starting to feel that live selling is if you're static selling, I think that you're going to get left behind. I feel like the difference between live selling. Now, 6 months ago, did I say this? No, but I did say 6 months ago, live selling is the future. And now that I'm in this world, just very, very, very early on in this world, I feel that there's always going to be a market for buy it now static selling. But for the sellers that are doing static selling, if you're not involved, it's kind of like here's my comparison: live selling versus static buy it now selling online is very similar, in my opinion, is going to be very similar to the late 1990s and brick and mortar card shops. Can a brick and mortar card shop survive without the internet? Yes, but you're going to get left behind. If you know how to run a business, a small business, or you don't need the money, you can survive, but it's going to be this. Now, those card shops that adapted with the internet, they saw their sales likely grow if they were good in business. Now, it all comes down to each individual business owner or entity. But I feel like that's how it's going to be with live versus static selling. I think you'll get left behind. It'll be a lot harder to compete. Now, if you've built a large customer base through your buy it now, you'll still see that. But I think you're going to see a plateau. Whereas if you integrate with a live selling platform, that's going to help tremendously. Similar to if you build an online presence in the late 90s as a brick and mortar card shop, that helped tremendously. So I cannot answer the differences. I've really honestly only participated on Whatnot a couple times. I've bought a few things on Whatnot, but on the back end, that was my biggest curiosity, was the back end. For eBay Live, and it's clunky. And I've shared my thoughts on that, and I've shared them with eBay. They are well aware. They know that, yes, there are a lot of fixes coming up. So, but still, it's pretty easy. I do shell listings because I like the ease of listing. I can list 241 auctions in 60 seconds. And I can also have the flexibility of, well, vintage isn't selling. We're going to dive into that today. vintage isn't selling. Well, shit, I can pivot. Whereas if you pre-list your auctions and it's vintage and they're not selling, you might lose a lot of money. But I have that flexibility where it's like I had a stack of vintage I was going to run last night, and then when a 73 Topps Steve Carlton sells for $1 and an 89 Topps Randy Johnson sells for $5, I pivot. It's like, well, my cost of goods now, the Carlton, actually the 73s I found at the bottom of a box from one of my latest Goodwill pallets. So that was a nice find. So I'll be adding some vintage in my Buy It Now store. I'll dive more into that in a bit. And I agree with this wholeheartedly. The challenge with eBay, it's hard to find live. Whatnot is cake. Open app search name. Absolutely. It is very difficult to find sellers and find auctions on eBay Live. I will agree. It is annoying. You would think just going to an eBay seller, it would pop up. ebay.com/eBay Live is where to find things. Let me share my screen. So ebay.com/eBay Live. Yeah, ebay.com/eBay Live. Wrong screen. So this is the homepage for eBay Live, ebay.com/eBay Live. It'll show what's going on now. A lot of coin auctions early in the morning. So there's actually, for a Tuesday morning, there's one. Usually there's like gems or something live. So coins and currency, big thing in the morning, I guess. We've got some comic book auctions. Looks like some treasure hunts. Here's the crystals. The crystals are always live at 7, 8 a.m. I guess it is it's almost 9 a.m. now. So maybe that's why. So you can just scroll down. This is ebay.com/eBay Live. Here's next up. Now these are all different categories. Here's the new seller spotlight. I was on here last week. Major League Monday, which was last night. So that's, these are all replays. Trading card games for Pokemon. Here's breaks. If you want to get into that, here's sports trading cards. These are singles mostly. So it looks like ComC is the first one up at 11. So here's here's all the baseball card exchanges going live at 7 tonight. Cards is going on at 5:30. So, coins, comics, fashion, Funko, collectibles. So, ebay.com/eBay Live. Let's see. Here, Tiger727 says, if you have his store saved as a favorite on eBay, you should get notifications when he goes live. I know I do. There you go. Hit the Save Seller button. Go to 1 Million Cubs and hit the Save Seller, and you should get a notification. You are welcome. Absolutely. Gem City adds, the best thing to do is find your seller's page. Then you can see at the top if they're live or when they will be on next. There you go. Zach says, go to his page and you can see his events, or ask the guy at Amy's cousin's wedding, Nick or Tim. He has post information. Ziggy says, at executive level, eBay has to see Whatnot is allowing anyone on the system. And if you want to sell online, Whatnot is the only option. It creates a bottleneck for sellers. What choice do I have? That's a good point. But I like the way eBay is going about it, where how many complaints have we seen about Whatnot? And people want to leave a Whatnot in droves because of this, but there's really no other option. It's Whatnot or bust. I think eBay is going about it in a very smart manner, in cherry picking who they allow, not just allowing anybody on the platform. Now, I also say this with a little bias because I'm on the platform and I have less competition. If they let everybody on, I have more competition. So yes, I have a little bias on this. TD Sports Card says, I would love to sell on eBay Live. Just started Whatnot last week. I don't like their automatic shipping preferences. They make you do a $1.25 envelope for 5 cards when I'd rather do manila envelope. Ziggy says, eBay is harder on new sellers, not live, signing up. I think not, hence all the low feedback accounts. eBay's logic is interesting. That's a fair point. That is a very fair point. Ziggy says, as an eBay Live seller, you have to like the limited sellers. I love it. Absolutely. I do as a seller on Fanatics Live. We've been hearing similar story about betas in limiting the sellers. Orlando, what's going on? He says, I appreciate that eBay is picky about which sellers they choose on their lives. Customers can feel more confident when bidding versus whatnot. Absolutely. Ziggy says, I am shocked. Card Shop app failed and no one is using Drip or Loop. PSA is keeping Loop alive. Yeah, I am also. I'm not surprised no one is using Drip or, I mean, it's those two. I feel those two were COVID creations, and we saw a lot of COVID creations just sink. And it's part of the reason why I was so, I didn't want to invest my business in, a startup unless it was really beneficial to how I run my business. And now I don't like selling on multiple platforms. The main reason is I don't like selling on multiple platforms. I tried Collects. I didn't like it. And I know some people in here use Collects and enjoy it as a seller and like it. I didn't mind it. I mean, I made a ton of sales. I treated it like Sport Lots, which is dumb. Like, why did anybody slap me in the face for that? Like, there's a reason I'm not selling on Sport Lots. Come on, Bo. So, and it's not for me. But as I say with Sport Lots is a great platform. It's just not for me. And that's the same with Collects. Collects is a great platform, but from a selling standpoint, it's just not for me. And that's why I just wanted to wait until, I could get on live selling with eBay. All right, I'm going to go back into the chat. We'll before I get completely lost. So we're going to go up to the very top. Good morning, Holmes. Still smarting from the Reds blowing this weekend. Good morning, Red Light 34. Good morning, Ziggy. Gem City says, selling is like fishing. What works depends on the conditions, timing, presentation, and the fish, just like cards, customers, venue. Amen. That's well put. Very well put. And I learned that it's like, I was selling Larry Bird quarter cards for $7 in some auctions. And it's like, I'm going to dig out all my Larry Birds. And, it's like I had a couple, the first two or three, and it's like, the Larry Bird people aren't here anymore. Ziggy says, I've heard great things about eBay Live. I'm a big fan. It is crazy, in my opinion, how eBay, and we talked about that. I answered that. Let's see. My next eBay Live is probably going to be tomorrow. I think, let me check my calendar. Because I think I scheduled a call tomorrow. What's tomorrow? The 28th. Yeah. So I have a call tomorrow at 11. So I may do just like might be tomorrow afternoon. I might try an afternoon show tomorrow and just see what that brings. And then once I get that scheduled, then I'm going to schedule the rest of the week. I'm very hesitant, and I know people are. I'm sure it's annoying if you want to buy, and it's annoying for me too. But I'm still trying to play. And plus, I was gone for 4 days, so I'm still playing a little bit of catch up from the weekend, from both the Madison Card Show aspect and the eBay stuff. But once I get into a rhythm, I'd like to, but I'm just going to push myself. And last night I pushed myself to stay awake and sell till 11 p.m. So I'm going to keep doing that. Of course, I slept in this morning, but I just need to keep pushing myself so I can get to a place where I'm comfortable with scheduling in advance and not just, hey, surprise, here's another eBay Live. So that's one thing I need to improve on immensely is scheduling. And that's something that in every aspect of my life, scheduling is the bane of my existence. My wife's like, what are we doing on December? Do you have anything going on December 3rd of 2026? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Where are we at? TD Sports Cards in the house. Good morning. 608. Cody's here. What's going on? Good morning, Cody. I will. I got to follow up with you at some point this week. Sooner the better, I think, for both parties. Gem City says the best thing to do is find the sellers page. Found Treasures this year. Good morning. We've got Orlando in the house. Let's see. I think we hit those. Tracy is here. Good morning. Peter is in the house. What's going on? Where has John been? He's probably playing skill games. He's probably waiting at the bus stop playing. Isn't it ironic? Isn't it surprising that the last few days we haven't seen that 70s card show, nor have we seen Low Roller Scratcher in the chat? Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Let's see. Tracy says to Tigers, that hasn't worked for me. I have to go in, heart future shows to get notification. Missed the last two because I didn't go in ahead of time to heart them and found out afterwards I missed it. Interesting. Let's see. Ziggy says, I feel the same as you. I am not a fan of live selling as an educated buyer, but as a seller, I understand live selling is the future, like it or not. Yeah, I've bought very few things on eBay Live. Very few things. Or actually on any live selling platform is what I mean. I've bought one thing on eBay Live, and I thought it was a great deal, and it'd make an easy flip. It's not turning out to be an easy flip, so I might just throw it on an upcoming live and see what happens. I think really on Whatnot, one was a break that I bought a paper-based spot in a break, and the other was, and the others have been Cub stuff for my own PC. So I like really not much for a flipping, and I think Whatnot you can get good deals. Especially if it's a newer seller that doesn't have a big audience, you can get some deals. TD says that's why Home Shopping Club took off. They can actually see the product live, even though there's pallets of it in the shipping room. Let's see. Ziggy says the challenge is Whatnot is the only option for a new online seller. eBay is not an option for most, and Fanatics and Loop require you are a business. That is why Whatnot is growing. Orlando says, agree, Ziggy, it's a starting platform. TD says, I do like the blank auctions, especially when you have certain buyers in the room asking for sports or players. Yeah, and I think it's beneficial, like, for multiple reasons. From a seller standpoint, it's beneficial to me because if I've got vintage lined up and nobody's buying vintage and I'm giving cards away, like that's beneficial for the buyer, absolutely, but it's not beneficial for me trying to, make a few bucks. So that's important. Also from my standpoint, it's essential because it takes very little time in setting the auction up. I mean, I can literally do it in less than 5 minutes. I can set the whole thing up in 5 minutes or less. 250 auctions, less than 5 minutes. It's beneficial from, I think, both standpoints as a buyer and seller because there's more engagement. There's more chat. There's more engagement with the chat through me, like digging through boxes, like, oh, you want Marcelo Meyer? Let's see what I got. And I think that's fun it's fun for me. And I think it's fun for the chat as well, because it also gets you engaged as a buyer, like, oh, and I've got with the exception of high-end slabs and, autographs and big stuff like that, if you're looking for inserts and low-end autographs and, random players and teams, I can absolutely deliver on that. And so it makes it fun for, the buyer and their experience. And then also, for both of us, it allows us, it allows me to test the room. Okay, well, vintage isn't selling, but Larry Bird is selling. And so I can pivot. And, for buyers, like, hey, I'm looking for Larry Bird. You go into some, it's like, well, I don't like any of these cards that he's got up. If you schedule all your listings, I've got 200 auctions. Here's what you get. You see it. I'm not interested in any of those, so I'm not going to go. However, some people, oh, I want this and this. I'm going to go to your auction and see, and maybe there's something else. So I see it's kind of this. I see more benefits to doing the shell listings as opposed to lining up and curating 200 auctions. It also takes time to curate. Oh, I'm going to do a GOATS auction, and it's going to be Brady and Michael Jordan tonight. Well, you're limiting your auction. I learned that with the Cubs. And I did okay with the Cubs auctions, but I feel if I would have sprinkled Cubs in instead of having a Cubs only auction. Now, did it bring in some potential new customers? It may have, but I think it would have been more beneficial to sprinkle those in, kind of like the progressive lots. Didn't do as well when I did all progressive lots one day, but then when I sprinkle in 4 or 5 during a singles auction, I think there's a little more excitement because it's kind of like the McRib. The progressives, like, oh, we got another progressive. It doesn't come around. It's not every auction is a progressive. We got to wait. And that's why the McRib is so tasty for some. I think it sucks. But anyway, Dave's in the house in Vegas. Dave is not teaching chemistry this morning. What the hell are you doing? Or school's probably out, isn't it? Damn, it's May 27th already. Dave in Vegas. Unicorn Cupcake is here. Good morning. Tracy says, I get the idea of blank auctions and having people ask for what they want. Personally, not for me. I want to see what's coming and decide whether or not to stay and bid instead of waiting to find out. But on the flip side, if you want Royals, you can just jump in the chat and say, what do you have for Royals? And I can dig out, and I may have preloaded Royals cards and you're like, I don't want those, or I already have those. But if you come in and say, I want Royals, boom, I may have something and nobody else wants it. And you may get it for $1 or $2. Ziggy says, Brandon's baseball cards was talking about baseball card exchange on live last night. Very cool. The challenge is whatnot complaints are hurting Fanatics Live. The chuckleheads just attack breakers when they use whatnot video clips. Gem City says, growing your live to be open at many hours with multiple offerings is what I think will challenge Bo. And that's another thing that I'm, I do want to test out different, 10. I've come to find out 10 a.m. is a good time slot, even on a Tuesday. It's like, oh, wow, I did pretty well at 10 a.m. I'm learning that afternoons, not so much, but you never know. I have a very small sample size. I think I've only run 2, maybe 3 afternoon slots. So that's a super small sample size. I'll keep doing it. Maybe Wednesday. We'll see. Deep Hire says, listen to the replay of yesterday's show. The story of meeting the Marlins team owner is great, which reminds me, I have not heard you mention the collaboration with the minor league team canceled. Well, no, I think it's still going through. It's a collegiate summer league team here in Madison. They had reached out to me several months ago to do a collaboration and have a card show at the stadium during a game, right before a game and during a game. So we had a Zoom call back in like January, and I had a few things that I wanted them to provide me, and I waited, and then we kind of lost communication. I followed up in early April, I think. I had one of the local card shops reached out to me and said, hey, what do you we want in on this. What do you know? And I'm like, I need to follow up. So I followed up, didn't hear back until about a week ago. And they don't have tables, and they hadn't done any promoting of it. And now it's a week out, less than a week. It's Monday. So if it's still happening, I think it's on their website. But it was, as of like 2 weeks ago, it was not even on their website. So I just assumed they had. And then I get this email out of the blue. It's like, I'm sorry. I don't have tables. I told you that in our first call. That was one of the things. Like, get tables. I need a layout, all that. So I had a friend. They were Bratfest was last weekend. I had a friend that went to their booth at Bratfest and was asking, and none of the employees knew about it. So Maybe it's not happening. Maybe it is. I honestly don't know. I actually last night went to their Facebook page because they put out a ton of Facebook content, none of which was anything card show related for next Monday. There's Ernie. What's up, buddy? You gonna go see your friends today? You want to say hi? Oh, come here. Say hi. Here's Ernie. Say hi. Oh, there's Ernie. Oh, he's like, get me out of here. So that's all I know about that. Todd says, good morning. Last night's live was fun, but I didn't make it to the end, past my bedtime. Me too, but we made it. We made it. John, there he is. He wants a Car Dealer Pro update. It's been working for me. Ziggy says, I really love your show and your honesty. Thank you again. Thank you. I appreciate that. Unicorn Cupcake says, nice to see the moderator had time to show up today. John says hi to Ziggy. Ziggy says, well said. Love the analogy to Gem City. People spend on eBay Live like they on vacation. In some respects, that's very true. Max says, too many people try to go broad and not deep, throwing away all the time invested previously. Multiple verticals are great, but only after the previous ones take care of itself, in my opinion. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Focus. A good friend of mine says, be great at what you're good at. Be great at what you're good at. Johnny M., good morning. I got rid of Collects, Mercari, buy sports cards, downsizing as I plan to stop selling cards in 2 years. Still have eBay and Sportlots auctions. Ziggy to John, cheers. John says, unlike you people, I have a full-time job that requires me to act and not speculate. There's John. How have you been? Ziggy says, are eBay live comps treated the same as auction or buy it now? Will this impact data tools that track sales? I honestly don't know. I think the live auctions, you want down? I think the live auctions are treated as far as comps go, are treated the same as an auction. However, here's the gray area. I sell a Sean Kemp 1990 hoops for $8 from a shell listing, and it's not going to impact comps because it shows up as Major League or Basketball Monday as shown on screen, and it doesn't say it's a Sean Kemp 1990 NBA hoops. So yeah, in that regard, let's not do that. Let's stay away from this stuff. So yeah, but if it is a preloaded listing, if it's a 1990 NBA hoop Sean Kemp that's preloaded, and it sells for $8, then it should show up as an auction sale. I'm pretty sure. Johnny M says, I am the opposite. I don't go into shows that don't have the cards listed ahead of time. I don't want to wait around to see if there's something I might like. Florida baseball card dude, good morning. John says, great Mike, renting multiple storage units and just waiting for the cash to roll in. John says, teachers only work 9 months out of the year and 4 hours out of the day when they do work. Dan is here. He says, Bo will be drinking his mushroom coffee at 10 p.m. now. Maybe. Teachers have recess at 10 a.m. or lunch or gym. Orlando says, it's stressful working with kids, John. They can get out of control. That's why teachers need a break. John says, Orlando, I'm not sure we agree. We may not be doing education the right way. Max says, I have 2 full-time jobs that require me to act and speculate. Dan says, can you move that reflective material next to the dresser or desk? Yeah, why is that reflecting? Oh, I bet they moved it. Or the sun. The cleaners were here yesterday, so I think it just got moved. Hey, there's Low John. That 70s card shows up, and so follows Low Roller Scratcher. Did you cancel? Talking about the same thing John was asking about. No, I still have my Card Dealer Pro subscription, but I should downsize. I have like one of the higher subscriptions, but I'm not using as much, so I probably should downgrade. Unicorn Cupcake says curmudgeon alert. Max says down to 18. John says it's stressful working with me, but my team gives a full 12 months out of the year. Ziggy says, have you noticed all the teachers making YouTube hobby content, like 30%? Low Roller says, I am still sick. I can't look for free bonuses. My job, the free bonus checker, doesn't pay you sick pay. Have you used Speedy AI Lister app? I've never heard of that. I love Card Dealer Pro, despite everybody's complaints. I love Card Dealer Pro. It's. Do I have issues at times? Absolutely. I have issues with just about anything. So, is it annoying at times? Yeah, but I make it through, make it work. I'm just not using. I don't really. I keep saying I need to list more buy it now, but I'm selling a lot on eBay Live. It's like, well, do I? It kind of bogs me down if I'm pulling 30 cards from 30 boxes as opposed of 30 cards from this box right here. So here's all. So this was last night. If I can move this without. These were all. So all those cards sold last night on eBay Live. So it was a good night on eBay Live. So my next eBay Live probably going to be tomorrow afternoon. Probably 1 o'clock. I think I'll just schedule it for 1 o'clock. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday, I think maybe I'll go prime time Thursday. And then Friday is definitely going to be in the morning because I want to get my garden in Friday afternoon. So we'll do that. So I'll do a live on Friday morning, have lunch, get my garden ready. Ziggy says Speedy is brand new. I know the owner. Full disclosure, I have potential investor of Speedy. I like what they are doing. I've never used Card Dealer Pro. Bitcoin to the moon and Low Roller is waiting for altcoin season. I am now going to make my mushroom coffee and take Ernie to school. Oh, wait. The topic today was what's a better seller, modern or vintage? Shit. So this is a trick question. It's a little clickbaity, but a trick question. What is a better seller, vintage or modern? The answer, it's both. However, on eBay Live, it is not both. It is not both. Modern is a much better seller on eBay Live. Like I mentioned earlier, a 1973 top Steve Carlton sold for $1. $1. A 1989 tops Randy Johnson, $5. A Sammy Sosa 90 Upper Deck rookie sold for, I think, $4, maybe $3, $3 or $4. So I was going through a box that I found for my last Goodwill pallet. Had a bunch of vintage, some 73, like a Jim Palmer, 77 Thurman Munson. What number do the 672 baseball high numbers start at? Because I think there's at least one high number. There's a 73 Rod Carew. There's a 74 bench, which I don't know if I need that for my. I think I've given up on building my 74 baseball set. I think I'm just going to break it up and list it as a buy it now on eBay. Where's the rest of my vintage? Maybe I ended up selling it all. I don't know. All right, so now I'm going to get going. Vintage or modern? It's a little bit of both. eBay Live is definitely it's almost like the vintage modern separation. It's like 1980 is from then on is great. Anything from the 70s does not sell on eBay Live for me. I'll like the 73 Carlton, and there were some other it's like, how in the hell is this only selling for? But a 73 now on the other end, a 73 tops Bobby Valentine sold for $4, and a Carlton sold for $1. So I just don't get it. So I'm going to sprinkle because I've got some people that love the vintage and they love getting the deals. So I'm going to keep sprinkling some in, but I've got to be careful on what I list because I don't want to. Now, this stuff I have like little into it, but if I list it on Buy It Now, that Carlton, I might be able to get $3 or $4 on a Buy It Now. But on the flip side, that 89 tops Randy Johnson, I'll list it in my eBay store at $1.75, and it might not ever sell. So that's the difference in live selling. All right. So let's go see the last couple chats. Ziggy says less educated buyer. Vintage buyers are more educated, in my opinion. I think it's more, I don't know, actually. I thought it was more based on the flipping mentality. It's fascinating, and I honestly don't know. I think a lot of the live buyers, I think a large majority, and I guess here's probably the reason, in my opinion. A large majority of vintage buyers, whether they're speculating, investing, collecting, flipping, are of an older age, obviously. What's my wheelhouse? The 80s and 90s, because that's when I grew up. What's some of the older 60s and 70s? It's when they grew up. How many of them are buying on live selling platforms, whether it's eBay Live or whatnot? Who's a majority? A majority. I know there's going to be some outliers, but who's the majority buying? The younger generation. Do they want vintage? Probably not. Are younger people getting into vintage? Absolutely. But I think it's that feeling out process a little bit. So I think it's an age thing. I think it's just the clientele of vintage cards are not buying on live selling platforms. Unicorn Cupcake says, I think that is it. Max says, everyone that can figure out how to use eBay Live has no idea who Koufax or Palmer are. That's why. And I think that's exactly the reason. I think what Max just said. Johnny says, to me, vintage is before 1985. Max says, or need a new script for their glasses. Ziggy says, did you say how many? I wish. More like what fraction of a fraction? Dan wants to know if John's going to the National. Low Roller says Bitcoin's going to hit 1 million. John says, I don't have my comfortable shoes lined up, Dan, but still intend on going. Oh, that is important. Wear comfortable shoes. My goodness. Cody says, when's the first eBay Live consignment? I don't think that's going to happen. I'm having too much fun selling my own shit. I don't know. But you never know. Let's see. Maybe I'll hire Cody. Maybe I'll hire you and we can do 2 lives at the same time. Low Roller says, are you going to sell Pokemon cards in your eBay Live? No. Good night, Dan. Unicorn Cupcake says, more experienced in the hobby. They've seen the cycles, prospects, gimmicks, etc. Ziggy says, good night to Dan. Low Roller says, your modern cards became vintage in 10 to 20 years from now. Ziggy says, how much would you pay for a foot massage at the National? Is that the booth that could beat PSA for line length? All right, I'm going to go. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, visit my eBay store, 99centcards.com. I do plan on going on eBay Live tomorrow. I think we'll make it a 1 p.m. Central show. It'll be a you call it. We're taking requests tomorrow afternoon starting at 1 on eBay Live. Check it out, 99centcards.com. Make sure to hit the save seller button at the link, and you'll get notifications. Thank you, Ziggy. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.